Welcome to the Denasha Harrison Show here on Intellectual Radio. Thank you for joining me once again. Happy Wednesday to everybody. I'm on today from 7 to 8. I'll be on from 7 to 8 tomorrow, or not tomorrow, but next week as well. And then I'll be going back to my regular time slot of 8 to 9. But great to see everybody. IntellectualRadio.com is what you should be tuning into, whether it's the Denasha Harrison Show or shows, for example, like Crazy Kim. Crazy Conversations with Kim is on every Tuesday at 7. And it's a really wonderful show. 708-223-8953 is who you can call for the Denasha Harrison Show or Crazy Conversations with Miss Kim. That radio talk show, the other shows on Intellectual Radio family, we're always putting our heads together to figure out how we're going to feed that brain. So today's show is brought to you by the one and only Denasha Harrison, K Harrison Incorporated. Concealed carry courses is what I do. 224-800-9719. And if you don't have your FOID because you lost it somehow, some way, and it was not a misdemeanor, it was not a felony, they just don't give you your stuff back or didn't give you your stuff back, give me a call, 224-800-9719, and I'll give you the information that I have for you to help you with the process of getting your credentials back so that you can carry legally and protect yourself and your family while law enforcement assist you with serving and protecting you. They say to serve and protect, so it's not their responsibility, not their primary responsibility to take care of you and your family. So if there's a way for you to do things legally, I will help you with that. 224-800-9719. I'd also like to mention, as always, Up and Going Cleaning Service. Wonderful support. Thank you for doing all that you're doing. So Anthony McMath is doing great things with the cleaning service for Up and Going. 312-834-6199 is where you can reach him. And I'd also like to send a shout out to Sherry Finch. Sherry Finch, she is the senior broker when it comes to financial services. She has a company called Mastering Our Wealth Financial Services. Her number is 630-327-9313 or www.masteringourwealth.com. Again, www.masteringourwealth.com, 630-327-9313. Again, Sherry Finch, she is a senior broker, Mastering Our Wealth Financial Services. I think it's very important that we take the time out to understand finances when it comes to not only us, but our loved ones. We have to look at how we're going to leave a legacy. She gave a great example. We had a conversation before the show. Aretha Franklin, Michael Jackson, um, Prince. There were a lot of things that they did not do because uh, they didn't plan. They didn't do the financial planning that they should have done to leave what they had to um, to their loved ones. So we have to take a hard look, a close look, a very focused look at our financial planning. How do you generate um, legacy wealth? So I'm looking forward to getting Sherry Finch on the show so that we can talk a little bit more about that and educate our loved ones about the how to's. We think that a living will is enough, and it is absolutely not enough. You think that just because somebody's living in the same house as you, even though your name's on the title and somebody else's name may or may not be on the title, and when you pass, you think that that house is going to that loved one. That is not the case. That house is going to be in probate with the state, in limbo until the state decides what to do with the property that your loved one thought they were leaving towards you. So, financial literacy, very important topic, very important discussion. I'm looking forward to having with Sherry Finch and others. So, stay tuned for that as well. So, the Denasha Harrison Show is a show about social change, positive platform for social change. Anything that you want to talk about concerning the neighborhood, the community, politics, entertainment, whatever it is that's on your mind, you can always call again, 708-223-8953, and let's talk about it. So I'd like to talk about my upcoming guest. We'll have him coming in a few, or not coming in, but he'll be on the phone. Vogel Hill. Vogel Hill is out east, and I talked a lot about the people doing great things out on the East Coast, and apparently we're going to continue doing that. But not only is he out east, he's also worldwide with his business. He owns a business called Clear Productions Network, and I'll let him talk to you more about it. He's going to talk about what they're doing currently, how they got started, and why his passion is what it is when it comes to communication. And then we'll talk a little bit about our personal relationship with Vogel Hill. So Vogel Hill will be coming up pretty soon. So before I bring him on the show, I just like to share again a little bit about what's on my mind. So I think it's important to realize that um, what we talk about, what we try to do, we try to put it in action. I think it's important that people recognize their potential to be people of action. Um, a lot of people talk about a lot of things all day, every day. What you talk about actually has the potential to manifest into actions, into tangibles, as I call them. You can actually talk yourself well. You can actually talk yourself sick. You can actually wish some things on some folks or wish some things on yourself that actually come into really tangible fruition. So I think that we have to, I think it's important for us to recognize why we're talking, recognize what we're trying to communicate, and recognize who we're trying to communicate with. Recognize what we're talking about, uh, and why we're trying to communicate and who we're communicating with. So important because your words have meaning and your words have power. They have power to destroy, power to build. So be very careful with the power within your tongue. Be very careful with the intent of the words that you speak because it's very important that we are in the business of helping to build one another up and speaking from a position of intelligence. When we speak from a position of ignorance, we're not doing ourselves a service or anybody else who can hear us a service. And we're not doing the people that brought us into this world a service either, because we're making them look lesser than they are. So I think it's important for us to understand that we have to speak with a purpose. And if we speak with a purpose, then we're able to move with a purpose. So how do you do that? How do you speak with a purpose? How do you start to move with a purpose? Well, you have to find a cause to champion that's something worth more than yourself. That's something bigger than yourself. It doesn't necessarily have to be politics, although that's a wonderful place to start. That's it's a lot of fire in politics. You get a lot of heat when you do politics. So you have to really understand what you're getting into and understand what you're standing on. How do you navigate that? How do you get through all of that? And how do you find out if that's something that you can actually champion? Well, I'd say keep it simple. Go to the basics. Why does something exist? Why does politics exist? Politics exist because politics are about representing the people and representing change. It's about giving voices to the voiceless. It's about putting action. Uh, it's about putting things into action when it comes to our legislative processes. It's very important that we pay attention to our politicians who are politicking for us. Why? Because the pen is mightier than the sword. After we shed blood in our communities against one another, after we shed blood overseas against others, after we take from each other, after we destroy what one another, what we've built, policies are still in place. So after you're long gone, something that you may or may not have put in place politically, administratively, by voting on it or by having a voice on it, these policies are in place long after we have came, lived, and died. So it's very important that we pay attention to the power in the vote, the power in your voice, and going back to the basics. I challenge each and every one of you, not only those who are looking or those who will look in the future at this show, but I challenge each and every one of you to talk to someone else about becoming registered to vote. It's not so much as the presidential election. It's not so much as the governor's race. It's not so much as the Congress, and the alderman races. They're very important, but grassroots level politics can have a more immediate impact on your pocketbook, on your community, on your everyday right now thoughts. And I challenge each and every one of you to talk to someone else about being registered to vote, finding out where you can go to get registered to vote. But before that, you have to make sure that your driver's license that you have actually matches the address that you live at. And if you have to go a little bit before that, let's go ahead and get valid driver's license. Let's go ahead and make sure that our insurance is good. Let's make sure that our tags on our vehicles are up to date. Let's make sure that our administrative houses are in order. A vehicle has to take you from point A to point B for you to get to work and do the things that you have to do for yourself and your family. So let's make sure that the basics are done so that you can be a part of the process. So I challenge you to talk to those that are closest to you, to include yourself, to make sure that you're registered to vote. If you've moved into another neighborhood, if your address has changed, go ahead and make sure that your documentation is current and that you do register to vote. When you go to vote, you need a valid identification card for the state, which would normally be your driver's license. So, your driver's license and your voting registration information as well. So, if you do not have your voter registrations card or any type of voter registrations information, don't let that deter you from going to the polls when it's time for you to do what it is that you need to do to cast your ballot to vote. They can sign you up right there on the spot if you have a valid driver's license, valid identification. They can go ahead and get you registered right there on the spot so that you can be a part of the process that so many have bled and died for. A lot of people say because of the electoral college, your vote doesn't count. Well, we're not talking about that type of voting at this point. We're talking about grassroots politics that, again, can affect your immediate right now, affect your pocketbook right now, affect your community right now, affect all the things that are going on in your neighborhood right now. It's true. A lot of us get discouraged, but I don't believe a lot of us get discouraged because we don't believe that the process works because it just doesn't work. I believe a lot of us get discouraged because we don't educate ourselves on the politics that are going on from day to day. We don't educate ourselves on the schedules concerning legislations. We don't educate ourselves on the times that the halls will be open for your voice to be heard when it comes to the village halls or community meetings, things of that nature. Now, you might say you don't have time for that. Well, you have to make time for what's important to you. Nobody has time for anything. That's why you have to take the time. You have to seize the moment, seize the time. If you would think about all the things that you try to accomplish in a day and they have to spill over to the next day, then you're absolutely right. You don't have time. And again, you have to take that time. You have to take the time from something else to do what's important to you. And so I would say to prioritize that process and to get involved, and you start right there. Once you start there and you actually put power behind your voice, then you can recognize a little bit more why your voice matters and the power of the words that come out of your mouth. So I encourage each and every one of you to use your power to to vote for good. Use your power for change in a good way. Start at home, start in your communities, and start making whatever situation you're pointing at as a bad situation. Let's try to make it better. If you feel like you're not getting the resources that you deserve, you have to take a look at what you've done to be a part of the process in order for those resources to be available to you and your family and your community. If you haven't done anything, but you're just watching the news cycle, then you're doing yourself uh, a, a disservice. You can't just listen to the news cycle. There's a word that they use in the news cycle all the time called allegedly. Allegedly, allegedly, allegedly. Means it may or may not be true. Means that this is something that we think may be true, but we'll find out later on. So this gives us the opportunity to continue to talk about things that may not be true because we said allegedly first. So I want I want everybody to understand that it's very important that you're active, that you're a part of the process. So your words are very powerful. Um, Use those words in a very responsible way. And if you want your voice to count, if you want things to change, then be a part of the process to change things. I think it's just that simple. And it's not easy. What I just said is pretty simple. But to actually put it into motion, I understand that these things are not they're not easy. They come to some people easier than others. I get that, but it is possible. If you're 10 toes down, still, if you got life in your body, still, if you're breathing, then it's a possibility that you can make things happen for yourself and for your loved ones. So I just wanted to share that a little bit. And what we're going to do now is we're going to shout out intellectualradio.com, the Denasha Harrison Show. We're going to shout out 708-223-8953. If you go to the website and you see a button that says donate, go ahead and donate. Donate to intellectualradio.com. Donate to this family because this family is doing a lot of good in the community by putting people on the air, by talking about the things that matter to them most. The show before me, they were talking about, DUIs and pullovers. How many of us have been profiled by law enforcement? How many of us have family members that are law enforcement and talk about how afraid they are to do their job and make a traffic stop because they want to make sure that they get home safe? Uh, Too many times, too often, we get profiled in our own neighborhoods. Too often, we do what we're supposed to do, but yet there's a stigma about our communities. Uh, Change that narrative. Have more conversations about it. There was a conversation that was had about it before this show. There's a conversation being had about it now. The way to continue to get this type of content is to go to intellectualradio.com, press that donate button, and take care of the family that's taking care of you by putting out the content that's most important to you in our communities. So, again, 708-223-8953, intellectualradio.com. We're going to take a real quick break. And when we come back, we will be talking to Mr. Vogel Hill. So, thank you for sticking with us. Don't go away. Talk to you in a couple of minutes.
You ain't got enough money to buy my soul. Ain't strong enough to stop me. I'm out of control. This dimension's a Neo. I know that I know. I am that I am. That's why I speak so bold. On the verge of losing hope, I know where to go. Switch my style from singing vocals to magical flows. Study the streets a little closer. One with the ghetto. Got wise as I got older. Unloaded the metal. The millennium rebel. After that federal dollar. Balanced the world on my shoulders. I know my soldiers are following we at war. Cause kids still dying in the streets at war. On the block running from the police at war. In the US, this ain't the Middle East at war. With the problems in my own community and the sword. It's the only way to fight an enemy. Lord, save my father from this bottom to Hennessy. What more can I give? I'm giving all of me. And for real, it's only getting hotter for me. Harder to see and harder to breathe. And there's only one remedy. I gotta be smarter than my enemies.
In the water, wade in the water, children, now wade in the water. God is full of trouble.
I'm being chased by demons that triple team, exposed to false religions. I'm hated by jealous niggas that don't wanna see me living my life scarred from living hope. Pulling up papers, I'm chasing paper, no holds barred. Peace of mind, and yet the divine, my heart's cold. Got the friends, my last road dog turned me in. Because the war would never change. Who takes the blame for bad decisions? So many missing for following orders. Cause ill giving got the world tripping. They pushing prison at us young niggas. That's why we have high triggers. Won't let the war get us. I'm not alone with the way.
Welcome back to the Denasha Harrison Show here on IntellectualRadio.com, 708-223-8953. So thank you for sticking with me. Thank you for supporting the show. And if you're just joining me, we have Mr. Vogel Hill on the phone from Clear Productions Network. So we're going to go ahead and get into a conversation with the brother right now. Hey, brother, how you doing?
Long time no speak to. How you been?
All is well. It's good to have you on the show. The show you
My pleasure.
know a little bit about.
Yeah, I know a little bit about it.
Know a little bit about the show. Know a little bit about the Denasha Harrison Show.
Yes, I do.
So it's good to talk with you. It's good to hear from you. So I was telling the people a little bit about what you got going on out there on the East Coast, talking a little bit about the network. And I just want to pretty much get into it. So give us a little bit of information about, before you go into everything with Clear Productions. Let's talk about how we cross paths, how we met. I'll let you go ahead with it.
I believe it was at Bridgeway Community Church, wasn't it?
So Bridgeway was one, but you got to go back. You got to go back before Bridgeway. You got to go back to NGA.
There was another time before NGA. There was another time, yes, NGA.
Right.
I was police, and I think you were a government employee, right?
Well, I was a security educational specialist. So I was the briefing guy. So
right.
So yeah, we met at the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency out in Springfield. I think I may have retired. It was Springfield, Virginia.
Springfield, Virginia. Yes.
Yeah, so I may have been retired, or I was about to retire. So I think I had 1 foot in and 1 foot out, and so that's how we met. And I remember talking to you about what you were doing outside the job, and you talked about production. You talked about producing, actually, at the time.
Right. Basically, Clear Productions was formed through NGA. It was formed through me and a young lady named Emily Brunson, where her father was my chief of police at the time. We actually started on a napkin. She asked me, how much money can you make in the business? I put $1 to infinity sign. There's no limit on it. And she wanted in, then that's all she wrote after that. Then we went our separate ways after 4 years, babies come involved and kids and stuff like that. So we went our different ways, and I took Clear Productions down to the DMV area, because we're basically in Columbia. We did the DMV, and next thing I know, we had a hall that was only supposed to have maybe to fit 800 people. We ended up having 3,000 people for our first show.
Right.
And that's the story. After that, we exploded. Certain things happened really quick. I wasn't expecting. I didn't expect to do an arena in our third year down there in the DC area. We went up down to Virginia Beach. We did Johnson Hair Products hair show. We had 20,000 people there. Sold it out. We supplied all the entertainment. Then we were a part of Super Bowl 43 up in New York. We had a band called West Pole that opened up on Super Bowl Live Saturday night. They were the second band to play that night. Things kept growing. Then we got a government contract. Started traveling. I didn't expect that either. It was all over the place, all over the United States. Then I started doing interviews on the radio and TV because people were interested in, like, how y'all pulling this off. So then I did an interview on Arlington Public Access, which I will get back to. I'm going to come back to in a little while. There was a show called Super Tim and Super TV. And his producer asked me when I came off the set, he said, you ever thought about doing TV? I said, no, but I'm interested now. And we supposed to have a meeting that Tuesday, but my lawyer couldn't come. So I didn't think no more of it. Then everybody started calling me, and the grandma within the DMV wanted me to be a part of their situation. A guy named Brian Brown from Radio VPS, he gave me an offer I couldn't refuse. Brian came to me and said, "Hey, I'm gonna give you your own network." I said, "What do you mean my own network?" He said, "Well, you heard of Viacom, right?" I said, "Yeah, Viacom on CBS and Showtime." "Well, we'll be Viacom. You can be CBS or Showtime." So I took it. I stayed with Brian for almost two and a half years. Then I started getting offers out of everywhere.
So before you go into the offers, let me jump in real quick. You mentioned how everybody was asking, like, how you blowing up, how you doing this, how you doing that, why they calling you. I can remember that was a time when I found out about the different events that you were doing. I remember when, like you talked about the hall, that could hold 800. I think you had 2,000 plus trying to do their thing. That was the time where I was starting to hear about how you were doing the venue thing and how you were doing the events. And that's when I got knowledge of your well, first I thought it was just a little bit of DJing, and then
it was. That's how we basically the whole foundation started with me. It's off my DJing,
right?
Because I used to DJ and play in go-go bands from the age of 9 to 25.
Chuck Brown.
So so I stopped after my mother passed. After 25, I was burnt out from the business. But in every band I played in, I was either a leader or the manager, if not both. So I got burned a lot. So I knew the business,
right?
Like it was like back of my hand. So people, after I got out of the business, asked me to come back. Like it was a weekly thing. I was getting phone calls, texts, emails, phone calls back then, but paid people blow my pager up and stuff like that, asked me to come back. So I came. My cousin asked me to come back when I was 38. I agreed to come back, and that's how I put the production.
And so you were talking about the offer for Viacom, CBS, NBC.
Well, what it was, Brian owned a radio station called Radio VPS. Radio VPS was more or less, they were audio and visual. And he said to me, he wanted other networks underneath him. So he came to me in this other network called Metal Mania. And Metal Mania was technically with CBS, and I was Showtime. And he was considered Viacom. That's what the Viacom CBS came from. And like I said, 2.5 years later, I started getting offers. A company called Bosscast reached out to me. And first it was, I was hurt. I was scrolling. I got to go back. I was scrolling through it every night. I broke my back when I was getting police officer. I retired. So when we were Brian, it was Kleinfire. Kleinfire was owned by Instagram. They were their PR team. So the first. Say that again?
No, that I don't know what that was, but you're still with us. Go ahead.
Okay. So Viacom, not Instagram. Kleinfire was owned by Instagram. So Kleinfire picked us up as a PR. So there was like the first 25 people signed up. It was something like 400 people, 400,000 signed up. Out of the 25, we were the only. Kleinfire said we were the only two selected to go nationally. So they advertised us nationally on Instagram. So all those little commercials you see on Instagram, like about 5-6 years ago, was through Kleinfire. Instagram has completely took the whole system over now itself. So we got on there. Our viewership started going crazy. Then a guy named John Glass called me one day and said, "Look, I got the lady named Trixie I want you to talk to." I said, "Not Trixie, Tracy." He said, "I need you to talk to her." I said, "I've never met you in person, so I'm going to talk to her. You're in Oregon." So I said, "No, just listen to her." So she came to us and Bosscast gave us a deal we couldn't refuse. So we broke off from Radio VPS and went on our own after like 2.5 years. Then a company named Max Promo got in contact with me through Facebook. Stephanie took it over. She said, "Give me $20, and then I want you to check your views tomorrow morning or that night." She called me the next morning. She was like, "Check your views." I forgot all about. I gave her $20 on Cash App. And I checked my views. Our views went up something like we were averaging maybe like 10,000, 15,000 views a day. Went something some ridiculous number. One day we had like 7,000 views a day. It was something ridiculous. So we started like, okay, we rolling now. Shows started coming, this, that, another. Then I call her my mentor. Her name's April Hall and Sassy Sandra. Both of them have a show called Women's Talk Live, and they have a network called Women's Picture Book Network. They came to me and said, look, hey, we got Mr. LaFever in New Orleans. He needs a sports show, specifically a football show. I said, okay, what do you come to me for? She said, well, y'all got a show called All In Football. And he's interested in it. He thinks he can do something with it. So I talked to him in Panera Bread on a Thursday night. After that meeting, we agreed to terms. He told me we start that Sunday. That was a Thursday.
Wow.
So we ended up on CW New Orleans, and we started off on a 3:30 in the morning Central Time slot, which is 4 o'clock in the morning Eastern Time. Then after the season was over, CW Miami got in contact with me because they're all in this loop. I don't know what they call it down in the South, but all of them are in this loop. And they wanted us. So CW Miami said, we're going to start you off at 3 o'clock in the morning too. So Charlotte jumped in probably like a month later. So we were on CW Charlotte and New Orleans and Miami. Well, Miami really took us in really good because we had a show called Beyond Me after all the football come on in our time slot. So Beyond Me started averaging 500,000 views per show. So they moved us from 3 o'clock to 2 o'clock to 1 o'clock, and after the local news on Saturday night. We came on 11:30. Then they said, you know what? We're moving y'all to 6 o'clock in the morning Eastern Time to start our daily lineup every Saturday. So that's our time slot in Miami. Charlotte, we still come on like at 2 o'clock. New Orleans, we come on like about 1:30 in the morning, their Central Time. So the Now Network was chasing me for 8 months because we had religious shows. They wanted us. So we jumped on the Now Network. The Now Network gave me some offer I couldn't refuse. They gave us a prime time slot every Wednesday at 3:30. Then Pulpit TV came. We were on Pulpit TV every Thursday at 7 o'clock to 11 o'clock and 11 o'clock Saturday morning. Now Full Circle came back. I went to an event. I ran with a guy named Jeff. Jeff works for Arlington Public Access, the show I told you about at the beginning. Jeff said, hey, Vogel? I said, yeah. He said, so we talked. And he said, you doing, what are y'all doing? I said, we're doing TV now. He said, hey, I would love to get you on our network. So we got on their network, and the next thing I know, we're rolling on Arlington Public Access. We come on Arlington Public Access every Wednesday at 8 o'clock and every Thursday morning at 11 a.m., the replay of the show. Then we're rolling with those networks. Then in the past, we had a chance to get on CBS and TV One. Unfortunately, TV One and CBS didn't work out, but they gave us high praise. They want us to keep doing what we're doing. Just recently, we just signed a deal with Laurel TV. We're on Laurel, Maryland TV now. We also signed a deal with Anne Arundel County Public Access TV. We're on their network. Then we're on RVA in Richmond, Virginia. Then we're also on NBC 12 in Virginia. We just started that last weekend. So we come on there right after local news on Friday night. And so that's where we're at right now. So basically we have those networks outside our own network. Because on our own, we have Clear Production TV Radio Network, and we have Clear Production Sports, and we have XO7 Television. Plus, we have a radio station called XO7 Radio. So we have a total of 12 networks with them and us together.
That's amazing. And
our reach is, people ask me what our reach is. There's only 252 countries in the world. We hit 179 of them.
So you're in 107. Well, let me make sure I heard this correctly. Out of 252 countries, you're in 179 of them. That's
been that's what our average is, but we've peaked at 222 this year already. In I think it was, I want to say January or February, that time frame, we peaked at 220 with 222 countries.
That's amazing. So you just haven't jumped into this thing. You've been at it for a long time.
We're going on our 7th year on the TV side. The whole entertainment thing, we've been doing it for 19 years.
19 years.
Yeah,
that's good.
Going on 20. 20 will be next year.
Okay, 20 years doing your thing, and that's a great thing. It's a common thread here. The common thread that I'm understanding is that from the very beginning, and then from when we met, which now it's been several years actually since we met.
It's probably about 15 years.
Yeah,
15. You know what? It had to be the longest clear production. 19 years.
19 years, almost 20
Yeah,
years
19
we know
years.
each other.
20 years, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Man, that's amazing because
Yeah.
it seemed like about 3 or 4 years ago, but
Mm-hmm.
20 years. So from the time I've known you, 20 years in, there's been a common thread. Uh, Communication as well as transparency. Since I've known you, you've always been clear about not only where you're trying to go and where your destination uh, was. The projection of your destination was always clear, but what was always clear as well was the transparency about where you wanted shows to end up on your network. I can remember we had a meeting, and I don't know if it was Capitol Heights, or we met at a restaurant a long time ago.
Okay.
You had all the shows meet, and we
Mm-hmm.
we had a meeting about where we were trying to go, and you broke everything down for everybody. You broke down the numbers, you broke down the stats of the shows,
Mm-hmm.
how many shows were going on and how many were coming on board. So for everybody that was a part of the network, it was very clear about where we stood with the network.
Right.
The reason that I mention that is because in this business, from my understanding, there's a lot of lack of transparency. A lot of people who actually are trying to do this to get the word out, they don't get the information necessary to understand where they're standing. So, for example, IntellectualRadio.com, you know, Earl, he's very transparent. He's making things happen. Engineering. He's gonna let you know where you stand.
Mm-hmm.
Everything, everywhere from the critiques to what's going on with the company. He's going to let you know where you stand and where others stand when it comes to the show. That's what transparency is all about. So, with all that being said, do you feel like your transparency, as well as the way you've communicated, has aided to the success for the network?
With that said, first, I ask God for everything. I mean, I ask God for guidance in everything I do. So, regardless if I'm transparent or not, I ask Him what's the best decision before I ain't go into the decision, making the decision. I pray on it. So, to answer your whole question in entirety, I've been this is my second go around in the business. So, I remember when I was that 14, 13-year-old and supposedly got paid $500-$600 a night to DJ and not to walk away with absolutely nothing. I remember signing those contracts, playing in go-go bands, and it was supposed to get $1,000, but I got $100. Had to split up between 10, 15 people. Stuff like that. I remember those nights. I remember a lot of those bad tastes in my mouth. So, and there was nobody really transparent with me. I remember talking to little Benny one night. I was over my godson's house, and he was telling me that's the best way to be, is transparent. Because if you're transparent and truthful, you'll never have a problem. And he told me one thing you want to do in this business is anything. You want to do good business. If you do good business, people can work with you if you're not talented enough. But if you do bad business and you're talented, people don't want nothing to do with you. So I've always made a point when I got back into the business to do good business. So you can ask anybody I dealt with. My trail is good business. Transparent. I wanted the same thing when I was younger. I wanted the truth. Hurt my feelings or not, I want the truth. What do I have to do to get to a certain point? Where am I going with this? And the same thing I told y'all in that meeting. And I used to tell everybody then, but I can't say it now because it's happened. I said, one of y'all are going to make it. I don't know what show is going to make it, but one of y'all going to make it. And that's the last thing I do on this earth. 6 shows have made it now. 6 and probably going to be 7.
Absolutely.
I can't say that no more because I've done everything I possibly can do. I mean, I always get the questions about, do I feel like I made it? No. Even though people think I've already made it, I don't feel like I made it. I'm not satisfied. I've always been told, too, if you're satisfied and happy, that means you have everything you want. I don't have everything I want yet.
Well said. So, speaking of where you are right now with the network,
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk about the trajectory of where you are about to go, to include where you see yourself taking the network within the next, I wouldn't even say 3 to 5 years. I'd say within the next year or two. But before you answer that, what we're going to do is we're going to go and take a really quick break, not too long,
Okay.
because this is an interesting conversation. I don't want you to lose your thought. But
No, I'm not.
well, we're on IntellectualRadio.com, the Denasha Harrison Show, talking to Vogel Hill about Clear Productions Network. And when we come back, we'll have more with our guests. Thank you for supporting. Talk to you in a couple of seconds.
You ain't got enough money to buy my soul. Ain't strong enough to stop me. I'm out of control. This dimension's a meal. I know that I know I am that I am. That's why I speak so bold. On the verge of losing hope, I know where to go. Switch my style from singing vocals to magical flows. Study the streets a little closer. One with the ghetto. Got wise as I got older. Unloaded the metal. New millennium rebel. After that federal dollar. Balance the world on my shoulders. I know my soldiers will follow me to war. Cause kids still dying in the streets at war. On the block running from the police at war. In the US, this ain't the Middle East at war. With the problems in my own community and the swore. It's the only way to fight an enemy. Lord, save my father from this bottom to Hennessy. With more can I give? I'm giving all of me. And for real, it's only getting hotter for me. Harder to see and harder to breathe. And there's only one remedy. I gotta be smarter than my enemies.
In the water, wade in the water, children, now wade in the water. God is full of trouble. I'm being chased by demons that triple team exposed to fuss.
We are back on the Denasha Harrison Show with Vogel Hill on IntellectualRadio.com. Again, feed your brain. That's what Intellectual Radio is all about. That's what Vogel Hill is all about with Clear Productions Network. So, welcome back to the show. Are you still with us?
Yes, sir.
Okay, still got time for the little people. I appreciate that.
There's nobody little, bro.
Hey,
it's nobody little in this game.
I get that. So, we talked a little bit about where do you feel the network is right now, and where you see the network going within maybe the next year, maybe year and a half. But before you go into that, I gotta ask, how's David doing? How's David Anderson doing? Dr. Anderson for Bridgeway. How's he doing?
He's doing great. He's doing great. I know he just came back from Israel a couple weeks ago.
Wow.
So I'll see him Sunday.
Okay. So tell him I'm looking forward to speaking with him. I get the robo emails from the production crew at the church, but Bridgeway Community Center is an amazing church doing amazing things, not only in Columbia, Maryland,
around
but
the world.
all around the world. I know a few years back they went to Nigeria, did their thing. Dr. Anderson, David Anderson, just came back from Israel. And I'm very interested to hear about that story. As a matter of fact, I need to go ahead and get him on the show so that we can talk. And they have an amazing production facility too at Bridgeway, by the way.
Yes, they do.
My goodness. But shout out to Dr. David Anderson. He's from DC, right?
Yes, he's from PG County.
Yeah, he's from PG County. Went to Moody Bible Institute out here in Chicago. Did his thing, is doing his thing. So I actually had the opportunity to not only attend the church, but I had the opportunity to do executive protection for Dr. Anderson. And it was an amazing experience. We formed an amazing friendship, and I wish him nothing but the best. And it would be great to have him on the show. He will be an amazing guest. Just got to nail him down because he's always doing something.
Yes,
So, but yeah, Dr. Anderson, if you listen, if you don't listen, then Vogel, put them on because I'll be on Facebook. But let me go ahead and holler at you. I can plug your books, find out where you're going next, find out how you're doing from where you came from, and have that conversation. Talk to us about Bridgeway. I remember the food pantry that they had was doing so much for so many people in the community.
It still is.
My goodness.
That's I think that's one of their big things that they're known for in Columbia, Maryland, the food pantry.
Absolutely. And I can remember talking to some people that were in need in the city of Baltimore because they have 2 locations now.
Owens Mills and Columbia.
Okay, so Owens Mills and Columbia. So I can remember talking to some people in Baltimore, and Baltimore has wonderful resources for the people. There's a lot of wonderful institutions doing a lot of wonderful things in Baltimore. But I remember talking to people in Baltimore saying, "Listen, you need to go to Bridgeway, join Bridgeway, and get what you need from Dr. Anderson and the staff there. And by the way, they have an amazing food pantry. So before you start, before you start panicking about how you're going to take care of business for you and your babies, that is definitely a resource that you can trust. And I'm pretty sure that she actually went to Bridgeway, and her family did join Bridgeway. So just had to give a shout out to him because we did have that in common as well. So, but back to the network. How you doing with it now? Where do you see yourself a year and a half from now?
I'm gonna start your last part first. The one thing I never did with this network, and I've said this on so many different interviews, is I've never set goals. So by saying that is whatever God puts on my plate for this thing, that's what I do. If it comes my way, that's what I deal with and everything. It's been an unbelievable ride. The things we have accomplished and how big we've gotten, stuff like that, world recognition, doing the Super Bowl shows with a band and our own show, All in Football, being part of the Super Bowl for the past 2 years and the third year coming. So it's just, and having offices, traveling, and people recognizing who you are across the country is unbelievable. It's been an unbelievable ride. If it ended the day tonight at 8:45 my time, 7:45 your time, clip it up to the end of the day, I can say, man, I can't even speak how much I gotten out of it. Because when I started the clip production 19 years ago, it was supposed to be for vacation money and Christmas money. That's all it was supposed to be for. It was supposed to be a quarterly event giving thing. And it turned into something astronomical, offices, studios, and equipment. I can't say. Where do I see us in the near future? I don't know. Only God can tell. Only God can show me and tell me where we're going to be. Where would I like to be? I don't know. I'm happy where we're at now. I'm not happy because I'll be satisfied, then that would be it. So I want more. I definitely want more. I'm not greedy. I'm not arrogant. I just want more. I think we can do more. I have some collaborations going. I have collaborations with the Berry Farmer Morning Show. They're syndicated in 32 cities in the United States, so we have a spot on their show. But now with us, they have more outreach now. They're in 179 countries, 180 countries now because of us, because they're on our network. I'm about to do a collab with this other network in Houston. So that's going to be a big thing because one in Houston, a lot of the fraternities have backed them on this collaboration. And it's also, like it has a piece of Amazon that may have to be doing something with us. So there's a lot of things out there in the works. We have cooking. I have cooking right now. I'm not ruling out there's not another major network getting ready to come. I'm not ruling that out either. It could be something in the works that we could finally be on someone's coast that we've been invading for the past 8 years as Clear Productions. We could be on the left side of the United States on a permanent basis.
That's huge.
Yeah, so that right there. So, I mean, there's a lot of things cooking out there. Some things I can't really speak on, but there's some things cooking.
Well, I'm really looking forward to being a part of that journey with you. As you know, of course, I'm finally about to come back on board to the network, which I'm excited about. I'm happy about. A couple of people asked me, so does that mean that you're leaving Intellectual Radio? Hey, we're one big family, so that is a no. I'll be here on Intellectual Radio as long as they're willing to have me on. But I'm excited to do some business with you again. So I know as I spoke with you, I got a few shows that I'll be putting in the can, as we say, for April, mid-April, and I'm excited. I'm excited to do this and that. I say often that it doesn't have to be this or that, and you make the time for the things that you want to make the time for. So I think it's important to be on intellectualradio.com. I think it's important to be on, Clear, and I'm looking forward to it to see where things have come from 19 years ago, and it doesn't seem that long. It does not. It's amazing how time flies. I can vividly remember the last meeting that we had talking about the trajectory of this network and all the things that were rising. And of course, as you know, I was moving at the time, so I wasn't a part of the network from from the East Coast standpoint at the time. I remember when you came out this way, you and Deidre
and Cece. So me, Deidre, and Cece that came out.
They came out. We did a show on the lakefront, and that was an amazing experience. I actually talked to Deidre a few days ago, let her know I was coming back to the network, and we're already collaborating on the different shows that we're going to be bringing. So I'm excited to see and work with the people that I've known now for 19 years. That's so funny to me. But I'm really excited to continue to do great things with networks such as yours, as I continue to do things with networks such as intellectualradio.com. Continuing to feed the brain all the way around. Feed your brain. That's what we talk about. That's what we're doing. And I appreciate all of the support that you've given me. Appreciate you not giving up on me. There was some times where I'm like, man, listen, I'm not doing no radio no more. I ain't speaking about nothing no more. I'm good, man, because whatever was going on, but it never left me, and that's
why I tell people never give up on their dream.
That's it.
Give up on your dream.
That's it.
Because I can speak on a couple of people on Clear Productions that have blossomed. Millie in the city. She took us to a level where we're very well respected in the industry. Well, beyond me, the show, because when we were in Miami, she's the one that got us to have million views episodes. Lee Ice took us to another level with All In Football, because we were in Vegas for the Super Bowl. We were in the stadium. We've been in Toronto doing Canadian football games and shows. So we have been part of that. Then you got other people, JR Pantry, that done the food scene, the federal government stuff. You got Deidre herself with her shows, the traveling aspect. We've been in Chicago, we've been in Atlanta for her and stuff like that. I mean, so we've had people come through. Deb's son, the thing, how we blew up on the Now Network because of him doing this stuff from Atlanta. So, I mean, we have people out there have done a lot for us and continue to do a lot for us and have blossomed. It's incredible. I mean, because we have good people like Ben and Jack. It's a lot. I have to give a lot of the credit to a lot of people who laid the foundation from when we started, like the Moniques, the Tonys, the Ollies. And, oh man, there's so many of them. Herbs and Lees.
Very extensive.
It's very extensive. The Sherrills.
Right.
It's so many people. I want to thank Ebony, Dawn. Man, it's just wow. It's just like so many people that came through and worked for me. And look where we're at now because they laid the foundation. They were part of the real foundation, the blood and guts of it. You know what I'm saying? So
that's awesome.
It's been a wonderful drive. I mean, I always would say we, but I would never say myself. You'll never hear me say me. I always say we. When I say we, that means from the past and present. But it is one thing I want to say, and I don't never like toot my horn, but I'm going to toot my horn a little bit on this.
Go ahead.
I've done a lot in this game for a lot of people. I never took credit for nothing. But I feel I'm not on a big boy level yet, but I'm real close. But on this level, there's nobody better than me. And one day, I don't know how soon it's going to be. It might be real soon. I'm not going to do this no more. And you would acknowledge me that I was the best to ever do this.
Nice. It's okay to toot your own horn. And I received that because, again, I've known you now for almost 20 years. And I've known you to put people first. I've known you to put the message first. And I've known you to do a lot of positive, a lot of great things. No nonsense. That's who you are. That's who you've been. And I just appreciate your professionalism. And again, I appreciate your support and you not giving up on me when I was ready to give up on myself. So I'm back. I'm back on the Denasha Harrison Show, IntellectualRadio.com. I'll be on Clear, doing my thing. More to come with that. And I'm just looking forward to working with you and the family again. And I'm excited. So, and, in the words of, Shy Cali Cuts, where Kelvin Harrison's the owner. In the words of Kelvin, let's get it. So we're going to get it. We're going to do it. We're going to keep moving forward. So I really appreciate you taking the time out to speak on the Denasha Harrison Show. So
anytime for you.
We'll have you on again.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. We're going to have you on again. We're going to have you in studio. And
okay, I'll come to Chicago.
Yeah, I know you will, and we'll go.
I'll come to Chicago real quick.
We'll be on Madison and Austin again, getting them Italian beefs and
yes, sir.
Doing the other things that we did. So, thank you for joining me, and I'll catch up with you soon. And I appreciate the time.
Thank you, my pleasure. God bless.
Likewise, brother. That was Vogel Hill, Clear Productions Network. Wonderful conversation. It's always like a family reunion when we talk. We haven't talked in a long time. The guy's never changed. He's been consistent, never changed as far as, his intentions. Good brother, always has been. And I have no doubts that he will continue to do great things with the network and beyond. He's got something brewing because he gave a little hint, gave a little segue saying that he might not be doing this for long. When he says that means that he's already got something else he got going on. So we're going to go ahead and look and find out what that is. But shout out to him. Thanks for the time. I appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to speaking with you again. So for those of you who can support a little bit more than you already have, again, IntellectualRadio.com, 708-223-8953. Hit that donate button. I appreciate what you have done. And I appreciate you just watching. If financial support, monetary support is not your thing, I'm cool with that. But get the word out. If you're taking the time to listen, then take the time to share. If you're taking the time to listen, then take the time to share, because as you feed your brain, other people need to get their brains fed as well. So please feed your brain with IntellectualRadio.com, iHeartRadio affiliate, and we will continue to do shows like this and more. So I'm looking forward to speaking to you next Wednesday. This is the Denasha Harrison Show, IntellectualRadio.com. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your support. And we'll see you again soon, right here, Wednesday, IntellectualRadio.com, the Denasha Harrison Show.
God's on the trouble water.
You ain't got enough